Yeah, absolutely excited to have Elizabeth of Elizabeth and the Catapult on the podcast today. How have things been for you?
Things are good. Yeah. We just played Philly actually a couple days ago. So we're just out on the road and it's sort of the beginning of our playing these songs live after
Yeah,
a lot of just being in a cave in the studio. So it's really fun.
yeah. So feel like I'd be remiss not to ask where does the Catapult come from? I feel like I have to know.
We're from Brooklyn.
So the Catapult maybe inform me a little bit. Like what in terms of like the name of the band itself, is that just something you guys came up with, or
Well, when we were for the first couple albums, when we just started out, our first record was on Verve, and we were going to call the album the Catapult because it was like the origin, the first, and I had a image of this little girl with a paper. It was all paper, and she had a paper slingshot aimed at a little paper crane in the sky, and we just based it off of basically our friend's art. So we're going to be the Catapult. And then it was me and um, Peter Lalish and Dan Malad. They're now in this band called Lucius,
Mhm.
but we played together for about a decade, and I just thought that this is a band. I write the songs, but Danny was producing, and we were all really arranging together. So it just became
Yeah,
Elizabeth Catapult. And after all this time, I cannot get rid of the name. It's just stuck.
yeah.
It's how people know me now at the Catapult on Instagram. So we're forever being catapulted.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, so this is, you just released goodness, your sixth studio
Mhm.
album.
Not
Uh
including our yeah.
yeah, called
Yeah.
Responsible Friend. But maybe just walk me through some of the overarching themes of the album, and just kind of, how you feel it's been received so far.
Um, well, first of all, it's been, man, that New York City album release show was one of my favorite experiences I've ever had in my life. It was at Joe's Pub, and even for new songs, people were singing along, and it was sold out. It felt really good, like a real like homecoming party. And uh well, I was just going to say a tangent is like an album release show tour is sort of like throwing yourself birthday parties everywhere.
Yeah,
Like it feels sort of like a reunion. Some friends come out because it's this big deal in your life, but
right.
it's also the birth of this thing that you've been working on,
Yeah,
honestly, sometimes for years. So like it's really like it's a culmination of a lot of good feelings. But the arc, or the theme of the album is, honestly, different ways that you show up for people in your life. Responsible friend. The actual title track is about being an irresponsible friend because you're flirting with your friends, even though it's not a good idea. And
right.
we've all been there. But
Yeah.
a lot of it is about, like 50/50, which was the first single, is one of, I think, is really represents a lot of what I was feeling while I was making the record. I was there were a lot of people in my life suffering over the last couple of years, with a lot of, this is something that we're all feeling.
Sure.
Specifically, I had, um, family members passing away, other people I was close to in and out of the hospital a lot. We were all suffering through this presidency. And I was just struck by not just how kind of severe all of the events were, but how quickly in succession they were happening. And
Mm,
really just like all of the horror juxtaposed with all the beauty online, that we're
yeah.
supposed to process.
Yeah.
And so I wrote about 50/50 is really like just how cosmically unfair the world can be. It's all of life's contradictions, like just thrown
Mm,
together.
yeah.
And I think that writing this whole album was a way for me to figure out how to show up for people in my life. I have a song about I Love You Still. The first one is about like not trying to fix or take away people's pain when they're unwell, like how to actually be a good
Mm,
friend and be a good support system.
yeah.
Um, and then there's like a lot of light, silly songs. There's a song about getting my wisdom tooth taken out, and
Right.
there's a good mix of things. But I
Yeah.
think all of us are trying to figure out how to be advocates for each other, like
Yeah.
globally and like personally. So yeah, I bit off a lot for this record.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Kind of, it's an impossible task to process the good things that you see online versus the bad things you see online, and understanding your place in that is impossible. It's an impossible task.
Yeah, impossible. Yeah, we're not built for it either. But
No,
yeah,
yeah,
especially right now,
not by any stretch of the
especially in
imagination.
America. But let's not get into it yet.
Yeah, that is a deep topic to say the least. I think my favorite song off of it is one called 90 Years Young.
Oh, that's cool. That's from my
I would,
great aunt who passed
yeah,
away.
I
She
love
passed away
that.
at 95, but it's like you
Amazing.
can't say 95 years young. It doesn't sing as
Sure.
well.
Right. Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, and it just, yeah, I don't know, listening to it, my grandmother played like a huge role in my life, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it reminded me of her, and just,
Mm,
yeah, connected, and that's like the coolest thing
that's
about
so
music, isn't it?
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool that you like that one. I'm not usually expecting people to connect to uh the sort of um um I wouldn't call it overly sentimental, but like the very sentimental ballads, I don't
Mm.
necessarily. There's always a group of people. I wanted people to hear "I Love You Still," so I put a really my like the darkest ballad on the record
Right.
first,
First.
um, because I like it. But it's always it's always fun to hear when people are more connected to that stuff than maybe some of the poppier stuff on
Yeah,
the record.
yeah, no doubt. I think it's we'll call it the sadder side of me, or however you
Yeah.
want to view it. I guess in terms of writing the album, is it something? Are you more of a solitary songwriter, or are you much more like a collaborative songwriter?
I would say just in terms of the songs I write alone. I have written for other people. Amy Helm, actually, who I'm going on tour with, I've written with for her records. I mean, there's all sorts of people. I worked on um I wrote uh some scoring for Sarah Bareilles' TV show. Like I do film scoring as well.
Yeah.
So I write a lot with other people, but for my own music, I really write the songs and then I'm a big collaborator in the production.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of maybe the production on this album, what was your approach to this one, maybe versus some of your earlier stuff?
Well, I think there's always this funny thing that happens. So I always am I'm a I get demoitis and I go really deep into the demos with just doing stuff at home. My partner, John Titterington, plays in Father John Misty. He's the keyboard player. And he is also a beautiful producer in his own right. So when we did record most of 50/50, that specific song, at home. But then I got a grant from DAG. There's this thing called the DAG Prize, which is a new grant for musicians and writers. Um, and artists. There's 3 categories, and I got the grant in the music category, which was incredible, and I was able to go into the studio and, like, really hire my friends, like, get everyone like, Danny was produced a bunch of tunes. My friend Adam, who I've played with for, like, 20 years, was playing, like, every instrument, and I had string players, some women from my women's choir, and it really ended up being, like, this very layered, beautiful, like, arranged piece that
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened without the DAG prize, so it was cool. It really became collaborative in a way that my Sincerely E, my last record, was like total isolated record, like with
Hmm.
everyone else who wrote their their COVID records.
Yep.
And so it was like it was really breaking out. It was cool.
Yeah. So I guess maybe rewinding all the way back to early Elizabeth days. What kind of music did you grow up listening to? Like, what were your parents listening to? What when you found music on your own, right? What were you listening to?
Well, I definitely listened to a lot of standards, like just great jazz pianists and singers, because that's what my dad listened to. He's a big jazz head.
Yeah.
So, I was listening to Monk and I was also studying classical music until I quit age 11, but I did compete before then. So I was like one of those child, oh, I don't know. I was so sheltered.
Prodigy.
I wouldn't say I'm not saying it's a prodigy. I would say that I was sheltered. Like I was
Right.
not, I had a pretty good, I mean, I had a great childhood.
Right.
That's my, but I did spend like 4 to 5 hours practicing a day when I was competing.
Mm.
And then I got burnt out early and then
Yeah.
I picked up piano again. Um, like at the end of when I went to school, when I went to Berkeley. But yeah, I think I listened to, my first, it's like all the folk people sort of classics, Stevie Wonder, Joni Mitchell. I loved the Cranberries. I loved Nirvana. I loved Mariah Carey. I don't know, I had a good mix
Yeah.
going.
Yeah,
But I
that's
had
a
found all these tapes from childhood in the car yesterday. We were listening to Jewel on the way to our gig, and where were we? We were in Vienna, Virginia, and it was we definitely rocked out.
mhm. Yeah, I often think like if I could find, the hundreds of CDs that I burned, when I was a kid,
Yeah,
like what gems I would find on there and be like,
yeah,
wow, like go me, for having some taste back in the day,
yeah.
with your, LimeWire burned CDs and
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
that.
LimeWire.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, right.
Going back.
Everybody went through a phase, right, where they were downloading, music on the internet, and
Yeah.
it was a matter of how
Yeah.
organized you were and things of that nature. So I guess in terms of, the album release parties and, the little bit of shows that you've played so far, what has been like a song that you've loved to play live off the new record?
Responsible Friend is just really fun, no matter what, because it's so energetic and it's sort of flirtatious and also like judgmental at the same time. So I just think the character is really fun, but it's also danceable. And I don't know if, as a songwriter, I don't always have danceable songs. So it's just like it's a good time to just let loose a little bit. Obviously singing I Love You Still, I told you that was, that's one of the important tracks. So that always kind of, it's like almost like your heart's on your sleeve, with the audience. And yeah, all of them are really fun. Bored of Myself has been really cool with a band. I've been touring with an upright player, and when we fly to Nashville tonight, actually getting on a plane after this, I have an upright player there that I'm meeting and playing. I got very, very highly recommended. And then when we're in LA at Hotel Cafe next week, the Friday after, I'm playing with another upright player, Daniel
Amazing.
Ryan, who's wonderful, plays with
Yeah.
Madison Cunningham. Then it's basically everywhere we go, we have another upright player. And then John and I are playing together. Oh, are
You're
you
good.
there?
I'm still here.
Oh,
You're good.
yeah.
I'm not
So
sure
so
what went
basically
there.
we have like a band in the box wherever we go, other than
Yeah.
John and I who are playing guitar and piano together.
Amazing.
So I don't know. It's just pretty cool. The reason why we're not bringing a bass player is it's first of all, there's just great players everywhere, but it's really easy to teach bass players. If they're a good bass player, you're not like teaching them a part. They're
Right.
playing along to the music, and they're
Hmm.
like giving us a groove. And also upright basses. Like we just traveled with an upright bass for one show, and it was crazy just fitting that thing in the car.
I
So
can imagine.
we're
Yeah.
just very lucky. We're just like showing up places, and we have upright players. So shout out to Carmen who played with us for the first leg of the tour, Carmen Quill, and then we're gonna be playing with Reese tomorrow.
Amazing. Yeah. That is
Fun.
really, yeah, that's like the nice part, I guess, about, music kind of being everywhere is you have that ability to pick up,
Yeah,
somebody along the way and make a new friend, so to speak.
yeah.
So you've been releasing music for, a little bit of time now. How do you think the music scene in general, or how has your
A
process to
little bit of
making
time, a
music
long
changed?
time. I've been I've
How,
been I've been releasing music in like my first record came out like 16 years ago. So I
goodness. Yeah.
am seasoned
Season. How has the
AF.
scene changed since,
Um,
you've started releasing to now?
I will say that since the pandemic, or like for instance, just now we we got like 40 people out in DC, and we were expecting a lot more.
Yeah.
And they said that because of the government shutdown, like people are just like half the people are coming out this month.
Uh,
So like there's that kind of thing happening. But other than DC, um, I actually feel like it's so much the same. I mean, gas is gonna be freaking expensive next
yeah.
for the rest of the tour on
Hmm.
West Coast. But
Yeah.
um I think what's so comforting is how much it's the same. This that like fans are still coming out. New
Yeah.
fans from my fans right now that are coming out, which is really interesting, is when I was live streaming over the pandemic, I live streamed a ton, and I live streamed like
Yeah.
every Saturday night, and you knew when
Mhm.
to like tune in. And
Yeah.
all of those people that tuned in are like, "Hey, I started following you after your pandemic record because you were live streaming so much, and I
Mhm.
knew when to like catch you." So it's like a good the fact that I have fans from that is
Yeah.
a it's rewarding, and it's also like, "Oh, I should be doing this in the future. This is like the best way to get an audience is by doing this."
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
Has are you a embracer of social media in general for being an artist? I mean, obviously, during the pandemic, everybody did it, right?
Yeah, I would say that
Since
I
then,
would
have you kind of
yeah.
found your way?
I would say that I think it's, one of the most distracting and ridiculously harmful things in our age, and
Yeah.
I'm not raising a child, but that would be ridiculous if they were just looking at, like, those, the manosphere influencers or whatever. It's just a nightmare. I
Mm.
do think that for music specifically,
Yeah.
it's helped me stay in touch with my fans in a way that would not be possible in any other age. And for that and for live streaming, like, just being able to, like, sing songs from my living room, and I have this really nice sound set up, and it just feels so authentic and real. It's made
Yeah.
me a better musician.
Okay.
So I think in that way, like, for a music career, especially if it's very DIY, it's great.
Mhm.
Backline is a nonprofit organization that connects music industry professionals and their families with mental health and wellness resources. They work toward building a safer and more supported music industry by connecting this community with quality mental health care resources that truly understand this line of work. Backline operates a 24/7 crisis support hotline, helps music industry pros access wellness resources, and builds communities and support groups where industry professionals share real talk about wellness, mental health, touring, and more. For more information on Backline, visit them on the web at backline.care. That's backline.care.
Night people hanging out, looking at each other.
Yeah, it's interesting how like it's really just woven itself into like being an artist, right? Like like, you already had to wear 40 hats and you add this, influencer hat on top of it that feels
Yeah.
borderline impossible to
Yeah,
achieve for most people. And
for sure.
um definitely not something, me as just a normal person envies in any way, shape, or
Yeah,
form.
yeah.
Um so I guess in terms of your has your approach to making music changed, in this 16-year career that you've had so far? Like, your first album to now, what has changed the most?
Oh, I think, making sure that well, I always make sure I can hear myself on stage because I want it to feel as intimate as possible. So I think I'm softer than I was, like, my early shows were, like, a little more rockin'. But I definitely have songs where I'm rocking. It's just that they're choice moments because I want people to hear lyrics, and I want things to be more free form. So, like, I improvise a lot more than I used to. I used to always think like play it like especially when I was on a major label, like play it like the studio version, and so that people can like sing along exactly. And now I'm a little bit more like, sometimes too much, but I'm a little bit more like, let's see where this song takes us. And especially when I play solo, like I don't necessarily want to do it with every song because certain songs need to be simple and like straightforward. But there's just a lot more improvisation, I would say, like pianistically, vocally, just like in general.
Yeah. And I mean, I would assume that's something that only kind of comes with that experience. I mean, um, in terms of, I'm not entirely sure in how long you've been in or out of major label settings. Would you do you prefer the DIY space more than a major label setting?
That's interesting because I'm on not a major label now, and I think that um or like an indie label, Compass. I don't actually know how you call them, but they have some bigger artists and
Right.
some uh mid-level artists. I would say that when you're on a major and they're pumping a ton of money, like there was times when I got just some crazy, crazy licenses when I was on Verve. Like I lived off of it for like 3 years. I think I got like a Amazon commercial, and I got like the song Race You had just so many licenses, it was ridiculous. So like it was successful. There was a time when that video was playing before movies, like in theaters. Like that's how like
Mm.
old
Yeah.
school and crazy,
Yeah.
like some of that stuff is, like you don't see that now, like at all.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, that was um I did 2 albums with them and they put a lot of money in, so there's still people that, like, know my music because of all the, publicity throughout that. But I do think that there is a thing where, like, you know, the thing about being on a label is that you owe the label money a lot of
Hmm.
times, so you have to make sure that they're doing
Yeah.
enough for you in order to be giving them money. Um, and so I don't have like a straight answer for that, but I would just say like, please don't sign a deal. Anyone to like any young artist, please don't sign a deal just because it's just because like the major label deal I got may be very different from the deal you got. And
Hmm.
sometimes I've had friends that just they can't release their own music or own their own music or ever make any money from their music like ever again because they're on in a band.
No.
Also, like make
Yeah.
sure you get a lawyer. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. That sounds like
Yeah.
a very on. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Insane process.
Yeah. But I do believe in Kickstarters. I funded a lot, many of my records after that from Kickstarters, and it's amazing. Your fans feel like they're giving you something, and then like you can
Mhm.
survive, and it's good.
Yeah. So I guess maybe kind of pivoting into some a few fun questions here. One I love asking is if you were teaching a music class and there were 4 or 5 albums that were required listening to, specific to your taste, what
Mm,
would those 4 or 5 albums be?
wow. Okay. Um, I would say Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong duets, sings Gershwin. What you get in there is just like some of the most famous classic songs of, the American Songbook, sung by and played by 2 of the greatest jazz musicians that ever lived. Uh, I would say Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life, pretty standard.
Hmm.
It's just incredibly long and album with some of the most important songs again written in pop music, and just musically it's so the harmonies and even just his lyric writing, they're so like of its time. It's pretty amazing. Joni Mitchell, Blue, hate to say it, I know it's the cliche one, but it's the most famous one, but she was so young and she was singing like she was like an old woman, Thinking of
Yeah.
90 Years Young, that song.
Yeah.
Um, it's really, it's just doesn't really get better than that. I would say for modern stuff, one of Gabriel Cahane's, maybe The Ambassador, Gabriel Cahane's record. He's a classical or like baroque pop. I don't know how to say it, but he's
Hmm.
classically influenced pop music, runs sort of with like the Chris Thile crowd, and Nigo Muley. He's been a big influence, and I sang on his last record. Um, and just trying to be sort of broad, maybe
Yeah.
shout out to Kishibashi. Um, 141A, I would say one of the earlier albums. Just also beautiful, virtuosic player, but really talented songwriter. And let's see, do I have one more left?
I
How am I
think
doing?
so. I think you're doing
Bedouin's
good.
first
Yeah.
album was really, really cool.
Hmm.
Just for subtlety. And last, I'm just gonna have to add in
You're good.
Jobim and
Yeah.
Aster Gilberto. Jobim and
Okay.
Aster Gilberto. That's like she is she's who I study to sing. Very understated, beautiful, sort of like breathy quality. Very free, but great songwriting, great harmonic landscape, but also like punchy when they want to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are the albums.
Yeah, great choices. And then, maybe in terms of your discography, right? What song are you most proud of?
My song "Thank You for Nothing."
And
I found out that it just had such a life after for years after I
hmm.
released it. It was for my second record, and it's a ballad. And One of my fans sent me this video of Anne Hathaway talking about how when she was in Les Mis, she actually cut off her hair in that scene where they're cutting off her hair and she had to cry. She was playing Thank You for Nothing on set. And then I like
Amazing.
reached out to her and she was like, do you want to be in this movie playing Thank You for Nothing, like on a platform, like on a subway platform? So I was in this movie, song one with her, with that song. And then it just like different things. It just had a lot of life in a lot of different
Yeah.
ways. So it's
Yeah.
like if you have and it was a ballad, like a weepy ballad. So it's like, you never know what's going to be popular, but
Yeah. That's really true. Yeah, I love that. That's and then I guess too, like I live my life in music curation, so I always ask, a
eh,
song or a project that you've
yeah,
really been into recently.
a song or a project that I've been into, a project like I've been working on.
No, like an album or something that you've been listening to a lot recently. Doesn't have to be new. It could just be something that you've gotten back into, if that's the case. Or
Budapest Hotel, is that what that's called? That the Wes Anderson film.
Yeah,
But anyway, that movie, I'm just looking it up,
you're good.
making sure it's the right name. That it's just I was just Anderson. I don't want to. Okay. Yeah, it's Alexander Desplat. He's I mean, he worked with on Moonrise Kingdom, Fantastic Mr. Fox. I'm also I just did a stop animation film with my partner John. We composed the music for it, and I wanted to listen to like whimsical, sort of Danny Elfman-esque um film scores where they took like a theme and then did it in every way possible. And I feel like Alexander, like that composer that works on all the Wes Anderson films, and a lot of other films, is just, it's like he's endlessly creative with
Hmm.
with how he uses sound. It's pretty amazing. But
Yeah, love that. And then, usually to wrap up, I just ask, what do you have coming up? You talked a little bit about, being out on the road, but what else can people
so
expect?
we're gonna be in Nashville on Friday, then in LA next Friday, the 26th, and then the 28th. We're gonna be in Berkeley. We're gonna be in Portland. We're gonna be in Seattle in the beginning of next month. And I'm opening for Amy Helm, great artist, next month, solo. And then after that, like after I come back from touring,
Hmm.
I'm trying to go right now. I'm talking to my friend. I might be going to a retreat in in France
Amazing.
for like a
Yeah.
songwriting retreat for a month to just get back to like writing, because
Hmm.
I've just been promoting these songs that I know they're new, but
Right.
like I've been working on them for years. So I'm really excited to start writing again. So I think I'm going to be
Yeah.
going to the French countryside, hopefully,
Amazing. Yeah, that sounds
if I have
perfect.
money left over after tour.
Yeah, right, no doubt. Well, yeah, I appreciate you taking time today to chat with me, and yeah, can't wait to hear what else you have coming.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you.
having me.